Afternoon VC, Dave here. So I've been seeing a bunch of videos around contest entries for Rob Walker. I am really not familiar with him or his channel, which I probably need to be. But Vinyl Rich just did a great video about some of the shows that have stood out to him that he's seen over the years, and then maybe some current bands he'd like to see live, and some that he's missed that he wish he would have seen. So I really dig this idea. So I'm just gonna do a video. Fuck it. So I got a bunch of records here about shows that really kind of came to the top of my mind, and we'll get into it. So right off, I thought of a band from LA, Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, when they came to Tremont Music Hall here, Charlotte, back when it was still here. It's been bulldozed for self-storage space, because who needs the arts? We got to store our bullshit. I mean, that's way more important. But God, I hated to see that place go. Hell, I still got I got a brick from the building, and I had it engraved, and I've still got. I went to the site and I salvaged the. I don't know if you can see it here. That is the entire box for the main lights for the main room. I took that right out of the bulldozed pile there of the building. And here's the brick Tremont 95 to 2015. Saw a lot of great shows there over the years, and Black Rebel played the Casbah, which is just the small stage off to the left. They hadn't really hit it all that big yet. And now my friend Joe he's a crazy person, and he liked to just roll up into gigs with equipment unannounced. Didn't try to hide it. Right through the front door, big giant tape deck, mics, mic stands, you name it, just right in through the door. Not say a goddamn thing, and just record. Sometimes he'd even get hooked up to the soundboard. If he knew the guy running the soundboard, Blue used to run the soundboard. He didn't give a shit. Penny didn't care. Obviously security didn't care. Now, some bands might have cared, but I mean, back then, this was 01, and I was all nervous about it, but like, hell, after the gig, he went backstage, talked to Black Rebel, and told them that he recorded it, and they were stoked about it, and they're like, hey, here's our address, send us a copy, when you get it. And I still got the CD from that gig. You hear beers clanking in the trash cans. Really cool. That was a great show. Great rock band. And I don't have the album. Well, I got it on CD from that gig. That was their first record, but they put out a live record, live in Paris. This is like a triple vinyl with a DVD. This is one of the best live things you can get. This is phenomenal. It won an award and everything. Yeah, this came out 2015 on Abstract Dragon, and licensed by Pius out of Spain. Yeah, winner of the 2014 UK Musical Video Awards. Yeah, so Black Rebel, that was a great gig. Next, back when I was playing in a band, Jarvis, I was playing guitar. The other guitarist, he was big into John Spencer Blues Explosion. I had no clue who John Spencer was, so he turned me on to them around the time of this record. Now I Got Worry, and it's a great New York band, 3-piece, and they were playing a gig in Columbia, South Carolina. So Roger and I think his brother, I can't remember who else, we went down to the gig. and there's a record store in Columbia. It's pretty famous. Papa Jazz is still there. Um, so we went into Papa Jazz, and who's in there digging for records? Right to the right, and it's a small place, is John Spencer. And I didn't know what he looked like, so like Roger's losing his mind. I'm like, oh, okay. So I went and dug right next to him. Just Roger's like, leave alone. And I'm like, oh, whatever. And but John went up to the counter with a stack of records like that, and we were in line behind him. And I finally got Roger enough courage to go and say something to him. So, hey, you can let him know we're here for the gig. And so Roger ended up talking to John, and they had a good conversation. That was cool. And I just remember John telling the owner of Papa Jazz, hey, can you ship these to New York City to my apartment for me, because I can't be carrying these around on tour or they'll get destroyed. And so the guy was, I mean, he bought it was like $380 worth of records or something. And so yeah, that was cool. The owner shipped them to his apartment for him. And then I saw John Spencer a few years ago here in Charlotte, and I brought that up, and he's like, oh yeah, I think I remember that. But yeah, so John Spencer Blues Explosion, great gig too. He plays through this freaking box that he built himself that gives us crazy feedback and all these different sounds. I never heard anything like it on the guitar. Fantastic. Next, this will be a gig I went to in Athens, Georgia. Now I went twice to see Cinemachanica at the 40 Watt. Once I was there to film, so I was working. But this one I don't think I worked. I didn't work this particular gig. And A Armada opened, and this is their album, Anamkara, and they're kind of a super group, short-lived, members of Maserati and Cinemachanica. And this is on Hello Sir, Bryant Williamson's label, the guitarist from Cinemachanica, and he's the bass player in this band. Instrumental, really good kind of melodic stuff here. They opened, of course, for Cinemachanica, and this is their record, The Martial Arts. This is iconic math rock album, One of 1,000. And John Digital Gramophone just got this for Christmas from his brother randomly, which is really cool. This has a track on it, I'm Tired of Paul McCartney. Yes, we are. But yeah, Cinemachanica, intense, just describes this. Very intense, and this album art is really fucking cool. The thing about this gig was the after show. So if you go to Athens, there's a place called Secret Squirrel, and it's just a short walk from 40 Watt. And it's where the drummer at the time was living, from Cinemachanica, Mike. And they would have gigs that would start up like at 2 in the morning over there. And so I walked over there, and all these vans pulled in, and there was like 3 bands from Providence, Rhode Island on tour that played from like, 2 to 5 a.m. One of them was White Mice. I had no idea. And the band before was heavy and sucked. Everybody had spiked shoulder pads and crazy shit. And it wasn't even guar. I'm like, this is bullshit. But White Mice, they were also kind of out there. They literally were wearing big giant white mice outfits with like red eyes like flashing out. It's the heaviest shit I've ever heard. I did not have earplugs. I really needed them. It was like being at a Jucifer show times 50. Holy crap, but it was good. I mean, the guitars were nuts. So that was an interesting set of gigs there. Next up, speaking of heavy, this show blew my mind. This was in, I think, 2019, since 2020 was a wash. That's Boris from Japan. I guess they live in the UK now, but yeah, this is Love and Evil that Third Man put out. Great record from Boris. And what was cool is like we were at the burrito place next door in Wada, and I think it was the drummer walked in. Might have been guitar. No, it was the drummer. They walked in to get burritos. And the band that opened was Uniform. This is the album I bought at the show from them. I can't remember the name of it. The Long Walk. And good instrumental, heavy three-piece from New York City. I hadn't been into this type of music in a long time. I mean, so yeah, this is a good discovery of a newer band, Uniform. They played at the Orange Peel. It's one of the best venues in North Carolina, and happy to see this bill pass through Congress finally to save our stages. That can save a place like Orange Peel. It's legendary. They have what's called a big ass fan in there. It's a fan the size of the entire building. If it ever fell, it'd kill, you know, a couple thousand people at one go. But yeah, dig that place. And I've also seen this performer there, DJ Shadow, and this was the tour I saw him on there at Orange Peel. Oh, the Mountain Will Fall tour. This is the Mountain Has Fallen EP. One of the best multimedia gigs. He had these screens behind him that would project on what he was doing. Would also have his music video stuff going on, and then he had like a silk screen that came down in front that projected images on it. Really fucking cool. DJ Shadow. That was a hell of a gig. Next up, this was a gig I filmed in Atlanta at the Drunken Unicorn during a tornado. No One Loves You Like I Do was the album from the Life and Times that they had put out at the time, and it's their best record by far that they've put out. This was from 2012 on Hawthorne Street Records. And these are hard to find now, and kind of gone up in price. Great band. They were from Kansas City at the time. They're now, I think the drummer's based in San Fran. He's dating a friend in Japan. Yeah, the lead singer, Alan Epley, he's now Chicago based, I think. So yeah, Life and Times, that gig was something else. There's footage up here on my channel of that gig that we filmed, and but man, when we left, I had to drive back to the hotel, and I didn't know if we were gonna make it. I mean, it literally was a tornado hit in town right there. That was nuts. But a fucking great gig. Next up, another gig that sticks out to me was this one at the Orange Peel too. Excuse me, goddamn Mountain Dew. We had planned to go see this show for a long time, and this was back when MySpace was still around, and we got tickets through MySpace somehow to see Maserati, another great instrumental band from Athens. They're opening for Check 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 out of New York City, and yeah, so came like a day or two before the gig, and no, wait, yeah, it came a day or two before the gig, and we were going to see them in Atlanta, and not Nashville, and they canceled because one of the members of the band got stuck in Europe, couldn't get a flight out or something, and so I sent a message to the band. I was like, hey, what are we supposed to do? Because they're not refunding tickets. He's like, okay, that sucks. We'll hook you up. You pick a gig that you want to go to next time we're playing, and we'll get you in. And they didn't have to do that. And they put my friend and I on the guest list for the gig at the Orange Peel. And this was the album they had put out, so we bought all their merch that night. This was Inventions for the New Season. Phenomenal double LP. Instrumental music of the highest order. Highly recommend it. They're influenced by Tangerine Dream, certainly. It just had the rock edge to it. Phenomenal effects with the guitars. Great bass. The drummer Jerry This was one of the last gigs I seen him play before he passed. I've told this story, but man, he got big. He ended up playing drums with Check Check Check. Also, he also drummed for John Legend. He had performed with John Legend on Letterman. Went to an after party at some warehouse style apartments, and they were in an elevator, like the 5th floor, and it got stuck, and they were able to open up the other side or something, and everybody was able to like jump over a gap to get out, and he was last to go, and his jacket caught, and he fell 5 stories down the elevator shaft. Made the Rolling Stone. Crazy, crazy, crazy. And then Mike from Cinemachanica ended up replacing him on drums after he passed, but phenomenal gig. Orange Peel again. This is a gig that we went to, probably also 2019. One of the best I've seen in Charlotte in a long time. That was Kikigako Moyo from Japan on the Masada Temples tour. Great psychedelic stuff. The one dude plays a guitar that's a sitar in one. Mind-blowing. So much intensity, beauty. Great, great band. Kikigako Moyo from Japan. They played here on the side stage at the Neighborhood Theater, and had a good crowd. Great response. Everybody loved that gig. Next, we have another venue in town that's just awesome. The Visualite over on Elizabeth, and I've seen Helmet a few times there, and they did a cover-to-cover gig of Betty, probably my favorite Helmet record. This is the 10-inch original. Oh, what's this on? Amphetamine Reptile, and yeah, cover to cover, man. The song that was on The Crow and everything, killer, killer, killer. That was a great gig. Got to shake Paige Hamilton's hand, and I've got a poster here autographed by the band. That was a phenomenal gig. Next would be Kaivan from Massachusetts. Now, this was a while back when I saw this band. Outdoor venue. We used to have these festivals in Charlotte. This was, I can't remember, Center City Fest or the other one we had, but I had to work it because the guy I was living at the time was in a frat, and the frat was serving beer to make money during Hootie and the Blowfish. I mean, we tapped out all the kegs. Those fucking people can booze. Holy crap. But I just remember it was hotter than hell that day. And I'd been standing there just serving beers all day during that. And then my deal was, when Kaivan was to come on, I'm gone. I'm going to get to see Kaivan for free. And then, well, Foo Fighters was after Kaivan. So that was going to be the deal. So I met my friend Joe to see Kaivan. And they had put out, they were on tour with Foo Fighters, and they had put out Antenna. Their commercial effort, really fantastic record. That's an original. But they played a bunch of tracks off Tides of Tomorrow, which is my favorite stuff from them. And couldn't have played any better. Absolutely perfect. They fucking killed it. One of the best shows I've ever seen. Just blew our mind. And then one of the guys in the band recently passed tragically in a car wreck. I think the bass player. So that sucks. They've done a bunch of tribute stuff for him. But I remember that. But then it was after this gig, Foo Fighters started, and I got so dehydrated I had to go to the tent and get like a nurse to give me an IV and shit. I had like whatever you call it. So that was an interesting night. Next here, this gig is the most I've ever paid for a ticket for. I think it was $80 for lawn in our one big amphitheater here in Charlotte, and that was for Radiohead on the In Rainbows tour. They played the entire album. They also played some stuff from OK Computer. They closed with Paranoid Android, which is my favorite track, so that blew my fucking mind. They had a whole setup where they had cameras individually on each member of the band projecting behind themselves. So like zooming in on the playing and everything, like stuff I do when I film bands. But they had it all separated out, and it was just amazing concept. Phenomenal gig. So yeah, Radiohead. Also at that venue, I saw WuTang Clan open for Rage Against the Machine. And this is an original copy. This is one of the first records I ever bought on vinyl. So this has actually gone up in value quite a bit. I think it's over $100 now, probably. But yeah, that was Zach De La Rocha. Fucking, man, they absolutely freaking killed it. I was touring 5 times down at the time. We were the best band from Charlotte at that time for a good decade, so we got the royal treatment. We had the nice box seats for Wu-Tang and Rage. Yeah, that was a hell of a gig. And it got wild in there. People decided that, okay, we're just gonna go to the front, and people just started hopping seats. Instead of going down aisles, people were just hopping seats all the way to the front as far as they could get. It was wild. I stayed in the box. I didn't want to mess with all that, but Rage, that show was nuts. And we had played the night before at House of Blues in Myrtle. We filled in for Cypress Hill, who canceled, and I had to drive the van that morning hungover to get us to the Rage gig on time. That was interesting. So next in the stack, this is probably one of the most amazing gigs I've ever seen. I've talked about it a ton, but that was Standstill from Barcelona. I saw them in Spain at Primavera Sound in this park along the Mediterranean. And they had put out Dentro de la Luz. Dentro de la Luz is their more Spanish folk album, and this opens up. It's really cool, like this. It's just phenomenal singer-songwriter, some orchestration in here, guitar, and just phenomenal drums. Great stuff. Enrique Montefusco, his band before he went solo, and I was front row center. There was 12 stages, and I went an hour and ahead before they went on and parked my ass right in front so that I could see them. The light show and everything involved with this, the backdrop was these big church murals and things. It was remarkable. This was a remarkable gig. And then Queens of the Stone Age started in the middle of their set on another stage way out. So when they got done, my buddy, he was up at Queens of the Stone Age because he had never seen them. So I had to run my ass off to try to make Queens of the Stone Age and see part of that gig, even though I'd seen them like 4 times prior. But while I'm running, I could hear, "I want to make it with you. I want to make it with you." And I was like, I'm running. People are looking at me like I'm crazy because I'm like throwing my arms up in the air because I love that song. That was a fun day. Bands went on at noon, didn't end until 5 a.m. the next day. Every day for like 4 days. That gig is like that. Next, also, this was related to Primavera Sound. They had a B-Core showcase at the Apollo in Barcelona on Sunday. And I was a guest of Sandy Garcia of No More Lies, and this is their album In the Shade of Expectation. They're more on the kind of the punk side of things, heavier band on the B-Core label. And this was their album they had released at the time that they were touring for. And I got to hang out with the owner of the label at the gig, Jordy, and hang out with Santi, and Quelo opened, and they were killer. Members of Betonizer, their side project band. Yeah, that's a iconic venue in Barcelona, so that was a huge gig. I got to see, sticking with Barcelona, Morn played Durham here at the Pinhook, which is the best sounding venue I've ever been in my life, and it's just a tiny lesbian bar. Whatever they're doing in there is pure perfection. And saw Morn. They were touring Sorpresa Familia at the time, so this had come out. So I picked this up there. Got to meet Antonio, who was drumming for them at the time. He brought me some Gaioza stuff, his new band that he's in, which was really cool. No one in the States had any copies before, so I was the first to get any of that stuff. But hung out with, you know, Jazz and Carla, and I got a poem that Carla wrote that she read off during the gig. She gave to me. Yeah, total fanboy of Morn. You guys should know that. Next, this gig. I remember my friend Drew and I, in his basement, went on, as soon as these tickets went on sale on Ticketmaster, to make sure we got them. It was Tool playing Lateralus the day of its release in Atlanta at the Tabernacle. And I think we paid $12 for them. I think it was like $15 after taxes and fees a piece, which back then was, you know, that you know, if you're paid $20 was a lot for a ticket back then, as far as I was concerned. So that was a normal price to see a show. And so we drove down to Atlanta, got a hotel, and yeah, Lateralus had dropped that day. And this is the, great record. The thing that was crazy is the line was nuts, and it wrapped around the side of the building all the way around the building and to the front. And there were these people selling tickets out front, and the people behind us had flown from Boston to go to the gig. And it was just Tool, no opening band. And they were only playing 5 dates in the States, so it was a big deal. They paid $300 a piece for their tickets from scalpers. This is the first time they'd ever started putting holograms on tickets, and so they didn't get in because they bought fake tickets. And I just remember there being a couple cop cars out front with some homeboys in the back, you know, with their hands behind their back in cuffs, and they were asking people, "Can you identify who sold you your tickets?" Because they weren't letting them in. They were checking the tickets for the hologram. And I was just like, holy shit, I paid $15 for my ticket, and they paid $300 and flew from Boston. They didn't get in. The people behind us did not get in. But that show was amazing. They played the video they had just dropped in the set break, and then came out and played it live. Holy shit. That was the best Tool show I ever seen. Tabernacle in Atlanta is an old church. They turned into a club. I've seen Love and Rockets there too, which was I didn't think they were going to be that good of a band to see live. Yeah, that was good too there at that venue. Next, let's see. This was a recent gig from, I guess 2019 also. OC's. Saw them at Cat's Cradle up in Chapel Hill, Carborough, and they had put out Face Stabber at the time. Double drums. That show blew my fucking mind. Dwyer on guitar is a fucking guitar god. He's my current Hendrix. Yeah, anything OC's, I'm all about it. That was a mind melter of a show. Yeah. So next, this was a gig back where I went to school in Fredonia. They used to have gigs in the campus center. And I saw Versus from New York City during the Stars Are Insane tour. And this is kind of a hard record to find now. What's this on? This is 94 when this came out on Teen Beat. Great fucking band. and Fontaine Taubes was the bass player. It's the first time I seen a female playing bass like that. She was gorgeous, and she was selling the merch after the show wearing this fur coat. She autographed. I have a 7-inch autograph from her. I fell in love with her right then and there. They were a fantastic band though, live too. Great guitars. Yeah. That's the Value Brothers on drums and guitar. Ed sings and plays guitar. Really fucking good band. Kind of underrated. They've had tons of albums over the years. Last but not least, of my favorite gigs that I had records just sitting here to pull out for was my number one gig of all time. It's Lungfish, who I saw at North Star Bar in Philadelphia. We flew up there, got a hotel, the whole nine. Ate a lot of fucking cheesesteaks. And they were touring Feral Hymns, their last album, so it was their last tour. Yeah, I got to meet Daniel Higgs. I just remember him having all these crazy tattoos on his hands. It's really the first time I'd see someone's hands completely tatted up. So that was kind of interesting. I guess I hadn't really been out much beforehand. But yeah, that's one of the most intense show I've ever seen. And they're just kind of a slow, repetitive groove type band. But yeah, we met our friend Charlie there, and he was friends with Lungfish. He'd played in some bands with them back in the day, and yeah, they played everything I wanted to hear. The opening band was horrendous, and I can't remember the name of the band, but the band itself was good, like the guitarist and the music. But the lead singer was a fucking idiot. I think they were called The Wilderness or something like that. The guy's like, every song. And he'd have his back to you, like he's trying to be the dude from Tool. I don't know. They fucking blew ass because of the singer. Horrible. But Lungfish, holy shit. But during the Lungfish show, and I've told this story before, there's the tallest guy in the room. He's like fucking 6'8", 6'9". He's standing there, and at the end of one of the songs, he goes, "Hey, Daniel, your mom's gay." And this is the lead singer, Lungfish, and everybody heard it, because he's only standing like 8 feet from the stage. And Daniel goes, in America, it's usually not polite to say something like that about someone's mother. And he goes, "Yeah, but your mom's gay." Okay, so Asa, the guitar player, jumps out into the crowd to go beat this guy's ass. Our friend Charlie grabs a hold of Asa to hold him back. Now, Charlie was a Virginia police officer at the time. And so, I wouldn't want to mess with Charlie. And Charlie was like, I thought Charlie would go after the guy. Charlie was holding Asa back. And they ended up kicking the guy out, but because he did that, it enhanced the intensity of the gig. Daniel Higgs was way pissed off. He took the mic, threw it up against a brick wall multiple times during the gig, going from there. He jumped out in the crowd, right in between me and my friend Joe, during our favorite track, "Lay Yourself Aside." Just into it, right there, right on my feet. Fucking mind-blowing. Best gig of all time. And that reminds me of another gig. Another one was Cinemachanica. A tiny fucking place in Carborough called the Reservoir. It's behind. I don't think it's there anymore, but it used to be behind Cat's Cradle on the next street behind. Tiny fucking bar, no stage. They just put you in the end of the wall, and double drums at the time with our friend Jeremy Fountain from Greensboro, and so it's him and Mike on drums. After the first song, Jeremy had to stand up, go walk, and sit down in the fucking corner to shake it off. It was that intense. Yeah, Cinemachanica, fucking intense. that was probably the most amazing thing in rock and roll history I've seen. I mean, the guy had to literally shake it off. It was so fucking good. But yeah, so as far as gigs I've missed that I'd love to see, the Mars Volta, and I doubt they'll ever get back together. So that one sucked. I was gonna see them open for Chili Peppers here at the amphitheater. They promoted it the day of, even still on TV. Yet Mars Volta had canceled the day before because their keyboard player had died of an overdose. So when I got to the gig, I was pissed because I'd seen Chili Peppers a billion fucking times. I didn't want to see them. I wanted to see Mars Volta. So I bitched to like an asshole, I bitched to the box office. They gave me free tickets to Ozfest, box seats, for later in the summer. So it pays to bitch sometimes. But yeah, as far as upcoming gigs, there's some stuff I'd like to definitely see going in the future, but I mean, shit, the future of live music is still kind of fucking up in the air. There were a couple gigs that were early on in the pandemic that were canceled that I missed. One was Damo Suzuki from Cannes. Was going to be right here at a local bar, playing with local musicians here. So that got canceled. That sucked. And he's up there, so who knows if he'll come back around. Yeah, there was the Super Yamba Band. What the hell is it? Coletta and Super Yamba Band. Which is a cool new band, like African stuff, was going to be at Snug Harbor also. That canceled. I would love to see that, but yeah, that's. Thought I'd throw all this out there just for the hell of it. Long video. Hope everybody's well. Peace.